From 1991 to 2006, Nick Pope was a member of the British Ministry of Defence, the equivalent of Project Blue Book.
The reason the UK government set up a UFO program was essentially the same reason that the US government set up a program. The French, the Russians, the Chinese, many, many others. It is simply because we viewed this whole thing as a defence and national security issue. If there's something in our airspace, we want to know what it is. What are these things? Why do they seemingly have capabilities in terms of speeds and maneuvers that we can't match? What is this technology, and if it's out there, can we acquire it? And the $64,000 question, is there a threat in any of this? So we came at it not as a science problem, but as a defense problem.
Pope describes the December 1980 Rendlesham Forrest incident, Britain's Roswell.
Over 3 nights in December 1980, there was UFO activity. On the first night, something landed. Initially, a patrol saw strange lights in the forest. Their initial thought was that perhaps an aircraft had crashed and started a fire. So they went out to investigate. They found not a crashed aircraft, but a landed UFO, for want of a better word. They approached it. They took some photos, which subsequently they were told didn't come out. One of them made some sketches. One of them got so close that he saw strange symbols on the side that he likened to Egyptian hieroglyphs, and he touched the side of this craft. At some point, this then rose up above the ground vertically. This was in a small clearing in the forest. Cleared the tops of the trees and then accelerated away at huge speed. Jim Penniston, the military witness who was writing in his police notebook by then, made the annotation, "Speed impossible." And Jim was an experienced sergeant, and he was highly trained in things like aircraft recognition. And he said, well, this just wasn't an aircraft. The thing had no wings. It was a metallic, triangular shaped craft about 9 feet across, 6 feet high maybe. Nowadays we might describe something like that as a drone, but I mean, even now, and even acknowledging that technology, aviation technology, runs several years ahead of what's publicly declared, but frankly even now we don't have something that can do that. On the second night of activity, there was a disturbing incident actually, where a ball of light passed through the open window of a military vehicle and went through the cab and out the other side. So traumatized one of the people involved that they subsequently had to be returned to the continental United States and posted elsewhere. On the third night, there was a social function going on, and the doors burst open, and a junior officer came up and approached the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, and said, "Sir, it's back." And Holt looked at him and said, "What are you talking about? What's back?" And he was told, "The UFO, sir, it's returned." So Holt thought that this was nonsense. He thought that it was disrupting the mission of the twin bases. He wanted to debunk what he referred to as all this UFO nonsense. So he threw together a patrol, went out into the forest, and ended up being a witness himself.
Now it's coming up. Hold up, there we go. It's about approximately 4 foot off the ground. It's coming set to 110 degrees. All right, just turn the meter off. You gotta say that again. About 4 feet off the ground, about 110 degrees, getting a reading of about 4 clicks. Yes, sir. Yeah, but excuse me. No, it's dying. No, it's dying. I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something variable here. Tree right over.
Before he saw the UFO, he returned to the landing site from the first night, and he saw scorch marks, burn marks on the sides of the trees, indentations in the ground, 3 marks, and the ground was frozen solid. This was a British winter, so the ground was rock hard, and yet these fresh marks were indented by several inches, and Colonel Holt estimated that the craft probably weighed several tons. And most interestingly of all, in evidential terms, he took with him the disaster preparedness officer, Sergeant Munro Nevils. Nevils had with him a Geiger counter, and they got peak readings off the sides of the trees facing the clearing, but particularly in the indentations. And all this is not disputed. These documents have now been declassified and are in the public domain in the UK's National Archives. So there's no debate about the data and the authenticity of the documentation. It's all out there. So the Rendlesham incident is absolutely, I think, a perfect storm in terms of what makes a UFO incident compelling.
Hi, I'm Bill Ambrose. If you like this video, subscribe so we can bring you more programming from our studio. Thank you for subscribing.